Okay, attention women in midlife. Have you ever wished that someone would grab you by the shoulders, look you in the eye, and tell you to cut the shit? Someone who would not beat around the bush like, oh, it sounds like that's really hard, but instead say, it sounds like you're creating that reality. How about you don't? Because I think you're actually way more awesome than that. My next guest is kind of like that. Star Monroe is a licensed psychotherapist, master life coach, and authority in intimacy, communication, and relationships. She specifically helps women in midlife become the unrivaled star of their own lives, the iconic older woman who, as she says on her website, can effortlessly command anything she fucking wants with a snap of her fabulously manicured fingernails. Are you ready for this vibe? In this episode, Star and I talk about how women in midlife need to reclaim their main character energy. We talk about a whole new perspective on menopause. We discuss whether or not you really do need to love your body. And Star tells us her daily ritual that she uses to manage her self-doubt. This is really good. Now, I hope you're ready, dude, because this is the episode you listen to when you want like a jolt of energy to make some changes in your life. And when you want permission to just fucking go for it because life is short and you're worth it. And just a quick note, we ran into some tech glitches on this interview, so my sound is a bit shit. But don't worry about it because Star's sound is great and she's got a lot to say. Check it out.
Breaking news. Your dream life isn't going to happen because you made a vision board. You're going to need goals, grit, and some woo-woo shit. This podcast is about getting clarity on what you want, having the grit to do the actual work, and most importantly, constantly training your brain to be your bitch. Ready to be inspired? Here is your host, best-selling author, Una Duncan.
Star Monroe, I am so happy to be chatting with you. Let's jump right into it. So one of your taglines is stop fucking around in midlife. So exactly what kind of fucking around are we talking about here?
All right. So before I answer that, I'm going to go backwards, a couple of nuances, a couple of steps. Inside our DNA, we have our own blend of genius. Now, you can align that genius with higher self, your authenticity, who you really are, God, goddess, divine intelligence, the sage, whatever you want to call it. We have this running through our very DNA, and it is our utmost quest to live aligned with this genius. This is what makes us feel alive, radiant, full of energy. And at midlife, where most women are listening and drinking the Kool-Aid that tells them you're over the hill, you're invisible, they're still centering men and waiting for men to validate them and tell them that they are okay, that it's time to stop drinking the Kool-Aid and return back to themselves and start doubling the fuck down on becoming a vehicle for their genius to fucking flow through them.
That is a fantastic answer. Fantastic answer. So letting your genius flow through you, is that what you're talking about when you say main character energy?
I use main character energy as the vehicle to guide and support women in accessing their genius. I'm glamorous, I'm bold, I'm feisty, and I have been doing my job for over 35 years now. And I've always looked for different avenues that spark women alive, that get them to wake the fuck up and do the work. And the thing is, if we don't package it right, if we don't wrap it up in a nice, beautiful red bow, then women will walk past it and they will carry on doing what they're doing. What I love about main character energy is it flies in the face of what the generations before us and the patriarchy are telling us, that we need to make ourselves a priority. We have to become obsessed with ourselves. We have to turn the mother energy that is directed on the outside, nurturing, caregiving, saving, rescuing, trying to change everyone in everyone else's business. We have to turn all of that back and pour it into ourselves, because the thing is, as one of my dear mentors said, every day we're a day closer to dying. Our bodies are decaying. A lot of women haven't yet even faced their mortality, and yet if they did the work to realize you get one fucking life, one glorious fucking life, and when you are dying, if you're not knocked over by a double-decker bus or fall off the end of a cliff, if if you're laying in your deathbed, the last thing you want to be doing is going, oh shit, I really wish I left that partner. I really wish I wore that red, beautiful ball gown shopping for my groceries that Sunday afternoon. I really wish I wrote the novella. And it's like, you don't get a fucking second chance. So I use main character energy as a point, a touchstone to shift women's self-identity, because if they do not change their self-identity, then nothing is going to change. Everything hinges on the way that you look at yourself. So if you look at yourself like, I can't do this. Menopause is a problem. Getting older is the worst thing ever. I'm invisible. I'm a failure. Then guess what? You are going to get more of that. And I know this to be true myself because I spent many years as a cocaine addict, an alcoholic. I was in and out of domestic violence relationships. I spent all my money. I had to go bankrupt. So I have been to the rock bottom. I've hit it many times. I had 3 mental breakdowns, and it's because of the way I saw myself. I saw myself as a victim. I was still letting my wounded inner child run the fucking show. I was still letting my rebellious teen make choices for me. And yet, as I moved into my 40s and now I'm in my 50s, I'm like, shit, I need to mature. I need to double down and do the work. I need to become an iconic older woman who is the star of her show, that leads the way, that gets to write the script my way on my terms. And this is what I teach women. Women don't realize that the words they say that are literally spilling out of their mouths are spells, are incantations that they are weaving themselves under. This is when people say, you're so powerful. And the Glenda the Good Witch said, you always had the power. When they don't realize that, oh my God, I am powerful, because I think women are still disjointed from that. Because if they realize how much power that they have, then that means they've got to take radical responsibility for how they are showing up. So if I circle all the way back to your first question, what does it mean? Stop fucking around in midlife. It means that. It means, shit, you are so powerful, yet only you can change the status quo. Only you can ruffle the feathers. Only you can make yourself go from invisible to visible.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, there's so much I want to follow up on there. But just to summarize, tell me if I've got this right. So you're saying people are fucking around because, we're not getting any younger. We're moving towards mortality. You've got one and only life. You've got to make it count. And if you were not living, the number one regret of the dying is, I wish I'd been more myself. And you're like, if you're not doing that, if you're not wearing the red ball gown or writing the novella or whatever you want to do, you better get the fuck on it right now. And to main character yourself versus being an accessory, making your kids the main character of your life, or your partner, or your job, maybe. I don't know. You didn't say that, but maybe you'd agree. Did I get all that right?
You summarize that wonderfully. I was talking to a client yesterday, and it's taken us, she's a private client, and we're in session 4, and it took her, I was pushing her, like my job is to call women out on their bullshit. There's not enough people that can really call people out on their bullshit. And the thing is that I've got the skills to be able to back that up because I'm a licensed psychotherapist. So I was calling her out on her bullshit, and only yesterday she went, oh, I've been doing what you've been telling me because there's daily practices that I ask all my clients to do. And she went, I'm looking at my partner and he has an amazing life. He has an amazing business. He's got all the wealth. He's got a great social circle. She says, I look at my life and I'm in the home and all I do is clean. I went, yeah, bitch. I went, you're the sideline. You're the side piece in his movie. And she's like, I see that now. And do you know what it is? It's like, none of us can make anyone see it. None of us can make anyone change. And again, I talk as a past addict. It's like, you cannot make anyone change. My job is to be over here. I am the invitation to you living a life aligned with your genius. And when you're ready, that's when everything shifts and changes. Nothing's going to change until the particular woman goes, I'm done living this life. There's something more for me. Let's go. Let's strut.
Mm. Okay, I want to talk about that moment for you. And so I'm on your site looking at all of your awesome stuff that you do. And on your biography on your site, you said there was a night when you were seriously considering getting someone to blow cocaine up your asshole. Direct quote. I love that you include that on your site. Can you tell us about that night and how it led to you being here today in your fucking main character era?
All right. So I'm going to preface that and say there was never one point. There was never one point in my life. And someone was asking me last night when I was on a TikTok live, there was like, what's the one point in your life? I went, nah. I went, you are drinking the Kool-Aid. People are still pushing it down you that there was one fucking thing that changed your life. There was never one thing. I will talk about that moment. But then I still stumbled and I still fell and I still fucked up. And that's what life's all about. And yet that particular point was 2008. And I had been using cocaine every single day for about 7 years. I was a high functioning addict. I had an amazing pole dancing business. I was an international showgirl. So I was on one hand this like flamboyant personality, and then the other hand I was in the gutter doing coke, like hanging around with really terrible people, toxic drama, chaos. And I just had my, I think, second or third boob job, and I had these massive tits, and I had my nose job done as well. And I was at home after the operation. It was probably about a month later, and I was using cocaine, and I was like, I can't do coke up my nose because I have my nose done. And so that's that thought of, oh my God, what's the other way to do it? So that hence I need someone to blow up my ass. And yet that was like a snippet of it. And what happened on this particular day, it was I ran out of coke, I ran out of booze, and I drove up the road drunk to check into a hotel so I could carry on drinking. And when I woke up in the morning, I was on the hotel floor, wasn't even in the bed, I was just sprawled on the floor, clutching this bottle of wine. And I was like, you're fucking your life up. You can no longer do this. You have to do something about it. And then within a week, I stopped. I was like, I'm done with that life, and I am reinventing myself. And how I reinvented myself at that point was I went into the bodybuilding world and I became a figure athlete. So that's how I channeled that energy.
Was bodybuilding, was it therapeutic, or did it turn out to be another sort of unhealthy addiction cycle?
So at the time, I was still carrying a lot of unhealed body image issues, weight issues, and I went into it because I admired these women on stage and I was drawn to how they looked. So I was very much focused on the external. And way back when I did it, it reignited all my binge eating. But as I look now, how far I am now, that wasn't anything to do with the bodybuilding. That was the fact that I walked through the door and I went into a sport. I became an athlete, and I still had unhealed issues within inside me. As I've moved all the way forward, and if I come back all the way to the root of that, it was because of unhealed childhood. I never had any one role model to me what a loving relationship looked like with their body. So I never had anyone to model myself on. So I have slowly, over the years, been looking and modeling that on myself.
I know that you help people with body confidence a lot, and I talk about this as well. I'd love to hear your perspective about the paradox of embracing and loving your body exactly as it is and the desire to improve it. Do you have any thoughts that you want to share about that?
Well, you don't have to love your body. You don't have to like your body. You don't have to like everything about it. You can look at your body in disgust, hate. You can loathe it. You can be quite neutral about it. And so what you've got to do, so when you ever have a client come in for psychotherapy, you've got to meet people where they're at. And so this is what I struggled with when I first started going, oh, I need to love my body. I know I hate my body. I was like, well, I need to love my body. And so I couldn't quite get my head around, and I still can't get my head around women going, oh, I love my body. It feels disingenuous to me. And that's my shit, my worldview that I am continuously working on and gently challenging. You don't have to fucking love your body if you don't want to. It's okay. Yeah. The practicalities are that this is your body. You don't get another one. You can go and have an extension built on the front. You can go and have whatever built on the back. You can have a facelift. And I'm like, you do what the fuck you want. It's your body, your estate, your rules. It's got fuck all to do with anybody else. And yet you can choose, this comes back to main character energy, you taking radical responsibility. You can choose to carry on doing what you're doing with your body and then magnify that 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years and see where you're going to be. Or you can go, do you know what? I don't really like everything about this body. It's not kind of what I want. And yet it's my home. And if you put the analogy on that you live in a home, and we all live in some kind of home, that you take care of your home, you clean the windows, you put the cutlery away, you may be putting a lick of paint on the walls, you make the bed in the morning. And it's the same thing. You can look at your body that way, that, oh, okay, I don't really like it. And yet it's my job to take good care of it. And then you start to look, I'm always advocating for you, look for iconic older women to be inspired from, because there are going to be women out there that are living a life that lights you up, that wakes something up for you. But the thing is, it's not just women, it's human beings as an entirety. We think about the destination. We think when we lose 10 pounds, when we have this banging bod, when we've got this great relationship, when I've got all the money, my life's going to be happy, fulfilled. And that's it. It's not. The only destination we've got is death. So the only destination is death. Everything else is a journey. And when that wisdom drops into people's bones, they're like, oh, okay, so my job is to see myself right here, right now. And then that cycles back to what I was saying about spending my life running, numbing, ignoring, denying. And that's what a lot of human beings are doing because they cannot stand to be with themselves. I'm not here to force anyone to do that. You want to carry on doing that? Then fucking get on with it. I'm here for the ones who want to wake up and do things differently. And it means that you've got to meet yourself where you're at. You don't like yourself? Don't like yourself. I'm going to learn and cultivate the capacity to be with myself, hating myself, be with myself in disgust of myself, be with myself in shame of myself. And yet, of course, this is probably going to need some therapy. I advocate for everyone to go to therapy. You must learn how you work. You must understand how you are hardwired. You need to understand how you're hardwired before you can rewire yourself. So if I come back to your question, and you gave me a paradox about loving your body and improving your body, let's add some more into that mix, that you don't have to love your body. Maybe what you do is you look at your body with neutrality. You're like, all right, neutrality. Okay. Then it's that next step that may or may not come, because we can't guarantee it for people, that you go, oh, fuck, I'm getting older. Sure. And this is where I come back to the mortality piece. Most people don't even look at the idea of death. A minute ago, I was in my bedroom and I was looking for something in one of my suitcases. My suitcases are heavy and they're on top of the wardrobe. So I had to stand on top of my bed. I had to lift this heavy suitcase off, and I had one hand underneath, and I was like, I've got it. And so as it slid off the wardrobe, I braced myself and I got it. And I went, yeah, this is the shit that I want to be able to do when in 20 years time, this shit, that's the shit I want to be able to do. And so if I bring it back down into more practical terms, I look at my father and I'm like, he can't move. He's never exercised. He's never taken good care of his body. And I'm like, okay, there's a lesson there. I look at my mother. She diets still now at 77. I'm like, you get on with it, woman. You know, if that's what you want to do, my job is not to change her. It's like, that's fine. But she will lose weight, put weight on, lose weight, put weight on, because she's not taking responsibility for herself in the long term. Everyone, I would say 99% of the human population is so hooked onto instant gratification. And our job is to look at the long term. This is what maturity looks like. And you're hitting late 40s, 50s, you're called to mature. You're called to step into, and some of the work I did years ago is to step into your queen archetype and take responsibility for yourself. No one is going to come along and fix you, save you, give you all the answers. And the other thing as well in that, women know inherently what to do because of their genius inside their DNA. It's the implementation where human beings get fucking lazy. Because I was talking to my friend who is a vicar in England, and I said to her, what is it about your congregation that, you know, they don't change? And she goes, they're lazy. I was like, yep, I would 100% agree. Like, I spent years in the fitness industry. I had a Pilates studio, I taught pole dancing, and it takes dedication, it takes commitment, it takes resilience, it takes fortification, it takes patience. And these are your medicines to have an easier life. They are your medicines. And it's like people don't want that. They want the quick fix. They want the next guru, the next shiny thing. And it's not. It comes back to discipline and patience over and over again.
So I totally agree with you. And I also think that, you know, you say on your site, in order to upgrade your midlife, you have to push yourself. And I think that a lot of women at this age would say, dude, I am already pushed to the brink. What would you say to that? You know, sometimes they're looking after children and older parents. And
the thing is, though, like, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that, though? Come on, right? It's like, oh, well, I'm already pushed to the brink. I've got no time. Well, there you go. There is a huge lesson there for you to be learning. It's like, oh, the way that I'm living my life, the Kool-Aid that I'm drinking, the generational lineage that I'm continuing on. And if I flip us all the way back into the 18th century, libraries were built for men to relax, to decompress, to read their papers, to smoke their cigars, to ponder over life. Women never got that. They had to stay in the home, clean the house, look after the kids, cook. Now, that was the 18th century. We don't live in the 18th century now. We have way more choices, yet a lot of women still think they live in the 18th century. And that gets tied into victim, martyr, archetype. And when you're a victim, it's easy because you get to blame everybody else. And I get it. I've been here. I've blamed the patriarchy. I've blamed the capitalism. I've blamed men. I've blamed my mother. I've blamed my father. I've blamed my son. And you know what is at the middle of all of that? It's me. It's me. I'm the catalyst for how I strut through the life of my dreams or my destruction, so to speak. So if a woman is saying, I'm exhausted, my God, I cannot push myself, then we meet you where you're at. You go, wow, you're exhausted. Why is that? What have you been doing to do that? Where have you been giving your energy? Are you making yourself a priority? Are you doing more things that light you up, or are you doing more things that drain your energy? Are you still hooked into patriarchal, generational rules and constructs of how you need to live your life, even though you are a mature adult? Are you taking good care of your mind? Are you taking good care of your emotions? Are you indeed taking good care of your physical body? Are you exercising every single day? Are you drinking your water? How's your sleep hygiene? you have to meet women where they're at. And this is one of the reasons why I decided to close down my psychotherapy practice, because I'm not here to hold the space for people to moan and groan about their life. I'm here to show them that there is another way. And I cannot make them go the other way. They have to meet me halfway. And then when they do, so the women that go, oh, I'm too tired, you're not ready for this. No problem. Carry on, get curious about why you are doing the things you're doing. Here's the other thing. A lot of women, I don't really like saying women, human beings will be latched onto various identities because it gives them something. So people will get latched on to being the good boy, the good girl, because they learned a long time ago that they get their sense of love and their human connection there, because we want to be connected to a tribe, so to speak. And so as you start to come out of these archetypal identities, what you're left with is the uncomfortability that no one loves you, everyone hates you. And well, maybe that's true. And yet you're the one who has to be able to cultivate the robustness to be able to handle that not everyone is going to agree with you. And I get it. Everyone's at different stages of their journey. Some people are going to need to go to therapy. Some people need to go to just sit with books and podcasts and read and digest. And then some people are going to be ready to take action and implement it. So we're all at different stages of our lives. And the most potent thing anyone can ever do is meet themselves where they are at and really ask themselves, wow, how am I responsible for this?
Yeah.
And what am I going to do next?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about another identity that you talk about. You said motherhood is the least powerful energy. Do I have that right, Star?
It's mother energy is anti-power. So the way that I look at that is mother energy is nurturing, caregiving, fixing. There is this generational pull into our DNA that mothers think they can fix, that they can save, that they should fix, they should save. Mothers are in other people's business all the time. And so that mother energy, which has shifted over the generations, and yet if you're not aware of that shift, and if you are late 40s, 50s, 60s, you've probably got this old star mother energy within you. And it is, you're always in everyone else's business because you have been taught, you have been brainwashed to believe that's where you get your sense of validation. The trick is to turn that mothering energy back to oneself. So it's like you're always nurturing, caregiving, trying to save, trying to rescue in your friend's business, listening to her bullshit stories over and over again. You're like, actually, when I do that, I get really drained, or I get really hooked on the drama, and I just kind of numb out from my life. I ignore my needs. I end up going to bed really late, or I get so stressed out about and worried about her that I forget to eat, or I forget to drink my water, or I forget to take care of myself. So our job is to turn mother energy back and to nurture ourselves first and foremostly, because the other thing I say is be fabulously selfish. Put yourself first, and then be prepared to deal with the guilt. And yet guilt is not even an emotion. It's based on a perceived set of rules and regulations that have been indoctrinated into you probably before the time you were born. And so can you see how you have to be able to be robust enough to challenge the world at large? And what you're doing first and foremost is you're challenging all the beliefs that have rooted themselves into your subconscious, which are literally creating the life that you're currently living.
One belief that I would love for you to challenge is this idea that I keep seeing online, it's driving me crazy, that it's all over after menopause.
Yeah, sure, because that surprises me because that's not my reality. One of the things that I did a long time ago was stop listening to the news, stop consuming rubbish online, because it is mostly rubbish. There are some gems out there, but mostly it's noise, and it's mostly marketed to make you feel shit about yourself. Menopause, from my point of view, is a rite of passage. You don't have to like it, much like your body, yet it's a rite of passage. It's coming your way anyway. It's coming your way. So you can either go, oh my God, it's really bad and I don't like it, and I'm going to listen to everything that supports that, because if you and I were sitting out for a cup of coffee and I said, don't look at guys with big noses, all you're going to see for the rest of the fucking day are guys with big noses. So you've got to understand that you're like a heat-seeking missile for whatever you're thinking about. So the way that I look at menopause, it's a rite of passage. It's going to happen whether or not you want it to. What I noticed personally with my body is I put on a shit ton of weight because I was fucking lazy. I was sitting at my computer, I was working, I stopped exercising, I was eating what I want, I was drinking the wine, I had my head in the sand. I was like, yeah, I'm fine because I still look fucking great, no problem, just carry on. Then I started to notice, oh, my joints don't work. I can't get out of bed properly. My ankles don't work. I can't bend down. Still, I ignored it and carried on until at some point I went, you're really heavy for your frame. You're too heavy. You're carrying too much weight around on your body. And there was some narrative in there. Oh, it's menopause. It's menopause. But I also know if I blame menopause, I do not take responsibility for myself. So I went off, researched it, and, you know, immerse myself with different wisdom to look at menopause as this rite of passage. So the way that I look at it is the way that your body has been put together from puberty all the way up into perimenopause. You're going to have jigsaw pieces of your body. As perimenopause comes along, it literally throws all these jigsaw pieces of how your body runs, what works, how you can eat, how you sleep, how you communicate with people, how you temper your energy, how you manage your anger. It's like, and all those other big emotions, it gets all fucking thrown up in the air. It's like, boof, fuck you, bitch, fuck you. We are on a huge reinvention inside this body, and you're not getting this back for a while. You're not getting this back. This does not fucking land. Your body is in construction. So all the pieces of you are up in the fucking air. What most women do, they panic. They look for quick fixes. I'm like, do HRT, don't do HRT, do not care. It's not my business. It's the woman's business. And you need to be able to advocate for yourself in this life, because there are too many women that say, oh, I don't get the service, I don't get the doctor to see me. You need to stand your mother fucking ground. You need to not relent until you get what you want. And this is a good thing about menopause, because hormones are shifting. You stop caring so much about what other people think, and you do indeed start focusing on yourself. Because one of the side effects, I could say, of menopause is that we do tend to turn into more of a man's kind of chemical run through on our body, because our hormone that bonds us with people, the babies, the children, it's gone. We're no longer the baby carrying vehicles that we were. So all the pieces of you are up in the air. You're like stressing out. You're like still carrying on, being stressed out, working all the time, like on your phone, doom scrolling, drinking the wine at night, not doing any exercise. And you're like, fuck, I feel like shit. Arguing with your partner because you haven't learned how to do conscious communication, staying in toxic relationships, and then eating the Doritos, eating the crap, not having a great routine. And you wonder why you're fucking feeling like shit. So the first thing is to realize, shit, all my pieces are up in the air. I'm left with this open expanse. Bollocks. I need to fucking double the fuck down and take really good care of this. The things that I would say all women need to do, you need to look at your rhythm, the way that you're moving through life. You need to look at your stress. Most women, and they don't even know it, they're hooked on adrenaline and cortisol. When you're hooked on those two bad boys, cortisol skews your perception of time. So most women are running around thinking they haven't got enough time, yet time is an illusion anyway, and you can bend it. Like, and if people coming at me go, that's a bit woo-woo, and you're like, no, there'll be parts of your life where you've probably been in something very pleasurable, and you're like, oh, yes. And time is immaterial. So it's like, you've got to be able to sort of start to see different perspectives. So understanding your addiction to cortisol and adrenaline, that's going to fuck everything up for you. You've got to start looking at your sleep. You've got to start looking at how you're moving your body. You've got to start looking at how you're eating, how everything that worked for you will no longer work for you, will no longer work for you. And what human beings hate the most is change. It freaks them out. Yet
sure.
we are so adaptable to change. We're so adaptable to change, yet we fear it. We hate it. And that's why I don't get involved in all the talk about menopause, because I'm just like, it's all bullshit. You know, you can have your own narrative on it. If you sweep over to Japan, they don't even have a name for menopause. Like, it's not even known in their society. So this is kind of where I went with it. And this is not to disregard or disrespect anyone that is having a challenging time. And I will come back to the fact that you need to fucking advocate for yourself. You need to get the support, the help you need. And if you're having a really tough time, therapy. It's like, it's the thing that I say over and over again to people. I can't do this. This is too hard. Therapy. You need support. We're not meant to do this on our own. Get the hormones, get the bioidentical hormones that you need, and then really start to look. It's a lifestyle shift. That's what menopause is asking you to do, to go, do you really want to carry on living this way for the remainder of your life? That's the big question menopause is putting towards women. And what it means is that women have to go, fuck, oh shit, I have to look at myself. I have to do the work. I just tap one more thing on that is inherently, I think I've said, human beings are lazy motherfuckers. If we can choose the path of least resistance, we're going to choose the path of least resistance, yeah?
Speaking of doing the work, can you tell us about your process of obliterating your self-doubts? I think you do this every morning.
Okay, so obliterating is a strong word. So let me pop that word over here and I will replace it with managing my self-doubts.
Perfect.
So I'm managing my self-doubts, and my self-doubts are part of my family of fears. So you've got angst, overwhelm, the inner critic, self-doubt. You've got the voices that have been indoctrinated into you from your mother, your father, your grandfather, your grandmother, and everybody else. You can't do that. Who do you think you are? This is not going to work. You never stick with anything. Oh my God, no, this is not going to work. So I have a practice called the Morning Pages. It's from a book by Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way. So I sit down every single morning, and 3 pages, a stream of consciousness. Whatever's going on in your mind, you offload onto the page, and you never read it ever again. You don't touch it. You're like, bye-bye. And you just carry on the next day. This is really important for everybody to do, because most people aren't doing anything to manage the noise that's going on in their head. So there's a process, the way that I do it, that one, you've got to get into the habit, first of all. So this is not going to happen straight away. You've got to get into the process of showing up for yourself every single day, doing that, showing up, even when you don't want to do it. And because my job is to be the observer of what goes on in my mind, and that's our job as human beings. We need to become the observer of what goes on in our mind. Otherwise, we think we are our mind. We think we are our self-doubts. We think we are the voice of the bullies that used to pick on us when we were 7 years old. So our job is to slowly become the observer of our mind. I notice I call them weeds. Little weeds come up. This is going to go away. This won't last. Who do you think you are? It's not going to happen. So I write it down, and I write it all out. So I allow that to be met by me. I don't dismiss it. I don't paint a smiley face on it. I don't ignore it. And then I'll go, I see you. I see you. I understand. I'm not too interested in the voices. I'm interested in the feeling underneath. And so the feeling is fear. I'm out of my comfort zone. And when human beings are rolling waves of consciousness, we're here to grow and evolve. What that means is you have to get out of your comfort zone again and again and again. So you have to learn how to manage all of this. So I greet it, welcome it in. I ask if any of them need anything, where's it's originating from. So here you go. This is me. These are my self-doubts. So I'm kind of doing a gestalt therapy here. So my self-doubt's like, you're never going to do this. I say, I hear you. I hear you. Sounds like you're scared. I'm not scared. You just can't do this. Okay. I hear you. How are you feeling? Well, yeah, all right. I'm scared. Mm-hmm. I'm scared too. I'm scared too. I don't know what's going to happen because life is uncertain, chaotic, and wildly unpredictable. I've got no idea. And yet, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to endeavor to do my best. I'm going to find a way forward. I'm going to find the answers. So it depends how you've got to be able to go into battle for yourself, because then they could come back and go, no, you're never going to do it. You've got to keep challenging them. I wasn't horrible in that exchange. I'm just like, I've got this. And slowly over a period of time, these inner parts of your psyche, because the self-doubt is part of you, it's part of your psyche, they slowly start to recognize the iconic older woman that you're becoming, and they start to feel a little safer. And it's all our jobs to feel safe, to cultivate safety within ourselves so we don't run. So people will say, I self-sabotage. Well, you're self-sabotage. You're not self-sabotaging yourself. You're protecting yourself. This part of me that's going, you can't do it. It's scared and it's protecting me. It's like, don't go any further because this is unsafe. I don't know this. And our job as mature human beings is to go, I'm learning how to take the next step forward. I'll figure it out. We're going to go slowly, gently, fiercely and gently. It's all right. You have to have a connection to oneself every single day. You have to you have to want to cultivate that. You've got to want to cultivate that connection to oneself, because when one feels lost, unfulfilled, adrift, it's because we've lost the connection to ourselves. So it's very important to tune in, and then you manage the self-doubt, the weeds, because that's the job to manage. And one of the things I always said a long, long time ago is we need to be able to manage life's inevitable ebbs, flows, and plateaus so we can keep on growing and evolving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Star, I'm sure that so many people are going to listen to this and they're going to want more of your amazing energy and your daily practices and all this. Where can people keep in touch with you?
Sure. The best way is to strut over to my website, www.msstarmonroe.com. Join my weekly sermon. And it's a very short weekly newsletter that I send out. And then you can peruse my website, see my offerings, see my services, and get a feel for it. And then if you want more of me on social media, I'm highly active over on TikTok and on Instagram too. TikTok, I'm Star Monroe. Instagram, I'm Ms. Star Monroe.
Any quick final words for anyone who is in their midlife right now and feeling like, is this all?
That's a nice story. Keep telling that to yourself and see what you get. That's a great story.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us.
Thank you.
Okay, so what did you think of Star? You're probably listening to the audio version of this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and that's awesome. Thank you. But if you haven't checked out the video version of this podcast on my YouTube channel yet, it's almost kind of worth it to go and see Star's energy on camera. And especially that last bit where she plays the two different parts of herself, which, by the way, reminds me of my process of coaching my damn self, which I talk about in episode 2. As always, I would love to hear what you thought of the show. So fire me off an email or DM me on Instagram, and I'll see your iconic self in the next week. Hey dude, thanks for listening. If you like this episode, make sure you're subscribed so you can get the next one. And by the way, if you rate and review this podcast, it really helps me get found by other people who need some goals, grit, and some woo-woo shit. And be sure to connect and DM me at Una Duncan on Instagram and let me know what you thought of the episode. Chat soon.